Welcome to Pixels, Clicks, and ROI, the AdSkills podcast where we interview paid traffic professionals who can produce real results. Today's guest is Jordan Swanson from ReachFireDigital.com. Jordan is a native and display advertising expert that helps clients in the health and fitness and financial markets take what's working on Facebook and get it to start working on the very difficult fields of native and display. He's got an awesome technique to get people started on native and display called Panoptic Stacking. We'll dig into it right after this. Here with Jordan Swanson from ReachFire, his agency. And I love Jordan. I've worked with Jordan a lot in the past. What Jordan's really good at is helping take people who have offers that have been working on Facebook, typically in the health and fitness or the finance niche, and helping them expand using native and display, using his technique, which he calls Panoptic Stacking. Excited to dive into what that means in the process you help people with. But Jordan, just want to say welcome to the show. Excited to have you.
Hey, John, great to be here. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. So before we dig into Panoptic Stacking and your process for helping people scale out from Facebook on the native and display, let's just take a quick second. You have a really cool backstory. I know you were in medical device sales and you kind of got into media buying. Can you just kind of explain what your process has been and how you've gotten to the place that you're at?
Yeah. Thanks, John. I actually started right before medical. I actually had a finance company. I started with a finance company. And that's where I first kind of jumped into buying media, buying Google AdWords, just very simple stuff. But the finance industry tanked in '08, and so did my company at the time. And then I actually got a job in medical device sales. So that was a great opportunity, did that, and then moved from there into marketing for medical device with medical device companies, working for them, doing global marketing. And after that, I was just like, you know what, this is great. I love this, but I need to do my own thing, kind of move out. And so that's when I left. It started my own media buying company, started ReachFire.
Very cool. So, native and display are kind of the redheaded stepchild of the ad networks. It's a lot harder for people to master. And I know you have some background in Facebook, you've done Google, all those things. What led you to native and display? Why was that the area you wanted to settle in?
You know, I mean, to be honest, there was a lot of things going on with Facebook, and I kind of saw at the time. I thought, because we were running originally we were running Facebook and Google, like you're saying, Google searches and display, and I just saw that the future where I thought Facebook was going, that we needed to expand and kind of get out. And there's a lot of players doing Facebook, and I remember I actually talked to Justin. And I was going, man, I really want to expand. I want to move into native and really start getting involved in that because there's a massive need. And so we did that. We moved into native and began the whole process going from there, and then expanded into programmatic native and display. Just
very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool. And it's one of those things that there's so few service providers in this area. A lot of people try to do brand advertising through display and native. There's not a lot of performance marketers in this space. And so I just think it's really cool what you're offering. So, that was kind of your process. You talk about going from having your own finance company to medical device sales to native. Just for anyone who's listening that's considering working with AdSkills, how has AdSkills really helped in the process of you going from, being a lower level advertiser getting started to now being at the point where you're at, where you're managing millions of dollars a year and helping a bunch of clients? How's AdSkills helped that process?
AdSkills played a huge part. I got to be completely honest. It was when I was looking at getting outside of Facebook at the time. This was a few years ago, and moving into display at the time, and then into native. I was looking, and I found Justin. I found AdSkills at the time, and saw what they were offering. And when I went through his course, and then got into the Media Buying Masters, it just opened up a whole new world. It really did. It opened up a whole new world with display and with native and understanding the process. And so it was a huge help in helping me get past that first hurdle. I think in becoming confident in what I was doing and understanding from the time, from people that were doing really well, doing a lot of stuff at the time, and helping us to move past that, get past that hurdle I mentioned. So AdSkills, to learn those fundamentals and then learn from the master, from that level, it was critical. It was really important.
Absolutely. So that was great for getting you kind of up to the level you're at. Now that you've got a really successful agency and are doing a lot of big things, how has AdSkills changed? You started with the course information. What's the most valuable thing for you now that you have a very established business?
The Pro League it's got to be the best, in my opinion. It's the best tool out there for people who want to continue to progress and grow. And being able to connect with individuals in the group that are doing a lot. There are so many successful people in the Pro League that it makes it so much. If you get stuck or anything like that, or it just we all part of the team. We're all connecting, and to me, that is one of the most critical parts of helping me to continue to succeed and seeing what other people are doing, and we all just share strategies. I mean, it's a great group.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We know it's a huge piece. We love having you in there, especially whenever native stuff pops up. You're always one of the first people to chime in, and we love having you there. So cool. Enough about us. Let's talk a little bit more about you. The biggest thing that we talk about, especially when we bring people on this podcast, is we want to talk with paid traffic professionals who can build, proven scalable results. And the biggest thing that we found is the key indicator of that is the process they use to get people from where they're at to where they want to be. And in your case, that's people who've had some success on Facebook or trying to diversify, want to get on native and display. So let's kind of talk about the process you use to get people. How do you get them to translate from a Facebook to a native? And the biggest thing that's most important, at least that I've seen, is a lot of people, they just try and plug their Facebook funnel over and they're like, well, it's not working. And so I just did a breakdown of this. Facebook, you can build these long ads with a lot of copy and videos. And native, all you get is an image and a headline. So really, let's talk about the process that you use to translate what's been working on Facebook. How do you have to translate it into a native and display funnel? Because the funnel has to change somewhat, especially since the ad can do such little selling. What's that process? And then how do you start to utilize programmatic Panoptic Stacking in order to be able to help them generate results? Let's just kind of talk about that process.
Sure. Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think that's one of the biggest challenges for my agency initially, is that we had a lot of people that would come over to us who, had something on Facebook that was working, but they'd never really gone into the display world, and with native, moving in that direction. And the challenge, like you said, is that Facebook, you can add a lot of characters. You can sell in the ad. There's a lot of it. There's all the room. There's a space to do that. When you move into native, you don't have that. You're limited on generally, between 60 characters to 120 characters. You've got your image, and you've got to get the click through. You've got to be able to really work on improving the CTRs, and so it's a difficult transition in many cases as you move over there. And what we tell clients when they come on with us is that it's going to take some time. Just because something's working on Facebook doesn't mean it's going to work when you go out in native. In fact, usually it doesn't. There has to be a lot of changes that take place within the funnel, like you mentioned, or again with the creative cells. We can take concepts, obviously the concepts that have been working, but we do have to narrow those down, get them to the right amount of characters, find the right type of image that's going to stop that scroll, and then test a lot of different headlines with the character limitations. So I think that's the biggest thing, is coming over, and don't just assume that if something's working well for you in one channel like Facebook, that it's going to transition everywhere, because it generally doesn't. So you have to be willing to start testing again and go into the process. And one of the big things with us is that we do programmatic native, and what that is that we run on, we've incorporated that with display. We run on 50 plus different networks. And so we've got thousands of publishers that that we test. We have a lot of different ads. We have a lot of things that we have to go through this process on different supply sources. And because of that, there is a lot of testing. But the wonderful thing is that we've got access to billions and billions of impressions outside of Facebook, okay, and outside of Google. And that means that we're not beholden to one network, and we can still scale. And so to us, that's kind of the critical part of this, is understanding that transition phase.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it comes down to expectation, right? On Facebook, you can be successful if you start with $25 a day. It's never going to happen on native or display, because, there's two core things. Number one, you have to test, we talk about variable placement dependent versus placement independent networks. Facebook has like 6 placements. So all you're really testing is your ads, your creative stack and your offer. That's really all you have to test. Now with native and display, you have this whole other variable, and there's millions of placements. And so being able to spend the budget to figure out, A, what's creative is working, but B, what placements, which websites does this actually convert from? There's this whole process. You have to spend a bunch of money to figure that out. So from that perspective, when we talk about expectations, what are the typical expectations someone has to have to say, okay, you're going to start here on day 0. Your like brain is used to with Facebook. If it's not working in 2 days, we're going to shut it off. It's a different expectation with native. So can you kind of talk about the expectations you set with clients?
Yeah. I tell them, and I'm glad you bring that up, John, about, with Facebook, you can come on and spend $25 a day, and when you go out there, it doesn't native and display. It doesn't work like that. You've got to spend. You do have to spend a lot more. I mean, I would tell clients, you've got to spend a minimum of $10,000 a month. When you're going out there as you get going, and the first 30 days, it's going to be about gathering data. Because we do have to test. We're going to test multiple supply sources. We're going to test multiple publishers, ads, landers. We have a lot of stuff that's got to go through this process. And so, people have to understand that, that if you're thinking you're going to come out and just kill it in the first week or two doing native and display, it's usually not like that. And so it takes some time. We usually tell people, give us 90 days. Okay. Because the first 30 days, we've had campaigns after 2 weeks, we start to see really good things, start hitting CPA targets and things like that. But generally, the first 30 days, the CPAs don't look good. It's not going to look that good. But you have to look at it when you go into native and display. You have to look at the big picture. This is a long-term process, and you have to also realize that you're going to be shooting for generally break even on the front end, or maybe even a little loss. But that's why you've got to have a solid back end. If you're trying to go into native and display without a good back end, it's really, really hard to make that work.
Yeah, you can't build a business off a single product on native. You have to have a bigger business. So I think understanding for people that are, looking to become your clients, there's definitely a particular fit that you're looking for. They have to have some risk tolerance. They have to have a back end, be a mature business. That being said, when you find that and you start to find success, and I think the biggest thing is on Facebook, it's kind of like you're building something up because there's so few variables. Now you can start building success. With native and display, it's more like uncovering, right? You're kind of to like, where are the areas of gold? How can we start digging in this direction? So let's say you just started to find some gold. You find some placements, some headlines, some ads. Let's talk about potential scale. Like, what are some of the things you've gotten people up to in the process as you start to find that success? What kind of numbers are possible if you're leveraging native and display?
I mean, with native and display, again, it depends on which networks and else that you can get approval on. Like I mentioned, programmatic, we're running a lot of different ones. But you can get with programmatic and display, you can get up to over $1 million, million plus a month, 5 million, 10 million a month in spend, because there's so much access to so much out there. But it's that process of uncovering everything, like you said, is the challenge. And then it's, again, once you find those areas, the one thing we've seen with native, which is nice, is that you don't run into ad fatigue as quickly as you do like with Facebook. So once you find that winning ad, you can run that ad for a while. And if you guys, for people out there looking at different, seeing what people are spending and doing on native, you'll see the same type of ad often for a while, because there's so much opportunity and so many impressions available. But for us, and this is we've developed this methodology we call Panoptic Stacking. And what that does is it's a process of kind of building trust with the customer, as well as working from a performance standpoint, like incorporating them both. And basically, we take them through stages. And what we found that works really well, we found that by incorporating display and native together, we get a lot better results for our clients. And so we will have different phases with the Panoptic Stacking, our methodology. We'll have different phases where we'll incorporate more native versus display or vice versa. Then later on, even down, we get to stage 3 and stuff, we'll have video and things like that we can bring into it. But for us, though, the key is making sure we're hitting those clients where, of course, the customers, wherever they are, and making sure we have the right type of creative and the right type of media to get them through the funnel.
So when you say Panoptic Stacking, for those people that don't want to become experts in native, they just want to understand how you kind of do what you do. Can you give a third grader version of what it is that you're really looking to accomplish throughout this stack?
Sure. So the first stage, what we do is about driving clicks. It's about driving quality traffic, not crap traffic. We focus on tier 1 sources. And that's one thing when we talk about programmatic native. Programmatic native, we can focus, we can work directly with a lot of these networks. And because we have stuff in place from the demand side platforms we use to access the native. I don't want to get too complicated, but basically there's a lot of things in place to get rid of bot traffic. As a native, you can run into a lot of bot traffic. There's a lot of stuff that we have, a lot of tools in place like double verify to get rid of bot traffic. So we really can focus on high quality placements on tier 1 networks. And so, we'll look at Outbrain, we'll look at, of course, with Taboola, but then we'll look at Triple Lift, Share Through, Rubicon, some of these other networks out there that run native, and AppNexus also is doing native now. So we'll focus on that. And so in the first stage, though, we'll drive a lot of traffic as much as we can to the lander. Okay. Now, sometimes if we want to build that process of trust. So a lot of times we'll just drive them over. It can be a giveaway. It can be something just quality, but we're not asking for an email opt-in on that stage 1. We're simply just driving them over because the email opt-in is the cookie. Okay, is that we're driving over there because then that can then start the retargeting process. So once we drive over, we try to get decent amount of traffic, decent prices, decent, on clicks and so forth. Then after that, the retargeting phases start for us. And so based on where they go on the page and if they click deeper into it. So then we have stage 2 and stage 3, and stage 2 is going to be generally driving to like a VSL, something like that. We find VSLs still work very, very well on native and display. And so we'll drive over in there. And then from there, stage 3 is then retargeting them based on where they've either gotten in the video or if they've clicked over to the order page or through the process. Now, one thing we found that works really well, which I was very surprised about, because it goes against everything that I was always taught in direct response, is that once they hit that stage, we will drive them to the homepage. We don't drive them to a lander. Okay. We drive them to the homepage because by doing that, we saw our conversion rates go up significantly. Okay. Because when you drive traffic, and this is a big secret. I don't usually share this. Maybe I shouldn't be sharing it with them, but when you drive, once they've gotten to that stage and you drive them to the homepage, it builds trust. They feel like you're a real business. And that is a critical part when you're working with a lot of these companies. So they go over to the homepage, then we get them to convert. And during that time, we're also tracking view through conversions. They play a critical role in this whole process, especially when you go out and just in the world of native and display. And so we'll track those, but and then if they don't convert, we then retarget people to an FAQ page, to a testimonial page, and that's at stage 4. So we Panoptic Stacking, we go through this process, incorporating different media based on the stage of the funnel.
Got it. So really the biggest thing here for people to understand is while you're generating a direct response result, CPAs, you're doing those things. Really what you're doing is to help them establish a higher quality brand. It really has trust in a market. It's not just buy my $8, gut remedy, whatever. It's like it's a bigger deal, and you're looking at helping them move their entire business forward rather than just trying to make $8 sales.
I'm so glad you said that's exactly it. The kind of clients we don't bring on anymore are clients who are a one-hit wonder, to be honest. If they have one product and they just want to just blast it and get as much traffic and then they're done, that's not who we work with. Because we're looking for clients who want to build a brand. They need to establish, as well as generate sales, obviously, but they want to build that brand. Because that, people forget, very few people click on ads. But a lot of people will see ads, don't click on it, and then they'll go and search for it and research it. And you saw this, I know, with YouTube and all the time, when you were telling about the success and all the things you've done on YouTube. People do that. They'll go and search in Google. They'll see something. They don't necessarily click on the ads. People want to feel comfortable, and people are very skeptical. They become more and more skeptical over the years with internet ads, and especially with viruses. There are things those experiences that were happening last year where they click on an ad. So people they become more skeptical. So building a brand, that's the way to go. And it's funny, so many people have become so lost on, things like billboard, when there were billboards and things, billboards and stuff still work. People are still spending money and they're still working. It's a lot of the offline TV commercials still work. They work really well. But with digital marketing, we become so accustomed to everything has to have a direct attribution that we forget that people see things and then they go and take action without maybe directly going through the channel you want them to go. And I think when people start to look at view-through, we started really bringing in view-through conversions from all the different channels. We usually do about a 1 to 2 day attribution window. What we've seen is that we're finding data, like these are sites that they're going to that if you were looking at just click-through, last click, which I think is really antiquated anyways, if you're looking at just last click, you would never know. You would never know that they're going to these sites. You'd never know that information. So once you have that, you can go and advertise on those sites, directly on those sites, because that's where they're coming from. So it opens up the world and it helps understand the big process of buying media. If you're looking at just last click, you're missing so much, that you're missing the boat on what media buying is about and the big picture of it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, thank you for explaining. So to summarize, really if you're a company that has health and fitness products or stuff in the financial markets, you've got success on Facebook, you're looking to expand. And really the biggest thing is having an understanding. You have budget to test because it requires budget to be successful on native and display. And you're really looking to build out your brand. In addition, we're not talking about brand advertising. It's not buying banners with hopes of getting people to see your name. You're building a direct response funnel, but you're really doing it in a way that encourages for people to take the route to purchase that they're comfortable with. That's really where Jordan and Reachfire can help you. So now that they kind of understand the criteria, what's the best way they can get in touch to get some more information?
Yeah, they can reach out to me, Jordan, at reachfiredigital.com. They can go to the website, or they can go to reachfiredigital.com and fill out our contact us page, and we'll have someone from the team get back with them.
Cool. We'll put the link down below so people can email you. Thank you so much for spending time today. This is awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we head out?
No, man, I appreciate coming on here and talking with you, and this is great.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for the time, Jordan. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure you click on the subscribe button on the screen right now. Also, if you'd like to join the Daily Edge and get the daily dose of what's working in paid traffic and tracking, you can text Daily Edge to 44222.